my wedding had just ended and my honeymoon had just ended, and I was really looking for a creative outlet to fill that void once all of that was over.
Why books? And did you blog before? Did you know anything about blogging? Did you know anything about SEO? How did it all like come to mind? Like why this specific niche?
In terms of why books, that was just what I was doing at the time. I was an English minor in college, and I've always been a very avid reader and writer, but I never did it as a career. I did it always more as a passion and a hobby. And at the time, I was writing book reviews just on my own. And this was before Bookstagram. I was kind of in the first wave of Bookstagram in 2019 when I started. It was definitely before Book Talk. I was just trying to get my thoughts out of my head about the books I was reading. So I would either just write book reviews on my own, on a notes app, or I would post them on Goodreads. So I had, I think, a couple hundred at that point that I knew I could get onto this blog. The biggest way I learned about blogging was about a decade earlier, a decade from now earlier. I was an attorney, and one of my clients at the time was my husband, and he owned a business that was based on SEO. And SEO, for anyone who doesn't know, is search engine optimization. And all that means is getting your content shown when people search it on search engines like Google. So if you type something like the best beach reads of 2025, there's all these things you can do on the back end of your website to try to get Google to pick you to put in its search engine as one of the top results. So I didn't even know what SEO meant at that time, but because I was representing him, I thought I really need to dig in and learn about this. And I got into listening to podcasts. I got into talking to him about it. I really enjoyed learning about it. And I just kind of did that also in my free time over several years. And that's really how I knew how to get this started and get it off the ground, and knew that SEO was how I wanted to do it versus social media.
What tools do you use for SEO?
The one that I use most often is Key Search, and that's a really user-friendly one. There are more advanced tools that I've tried, and I've just found them to be too advanced. I really just always go back to Key Search, which is really simple for anyone doing it. I've also worked with a few SEO experts, and I've gotten tons of advice from them.
You said you wanted to focus on SEO over social media. So
Mhm.
where did you see the biggest, most impactful growth? Was that on your website first, or was it on Bookstagram?
Definitely on my website to this day. Bookstagram is really something that I just do for fun. Once in a while, I may get a commission there. Now that you can put more links on Instagram, it's easier to link my content, or to say comment link and you'll get the link. That's helped too. But Instagram is a platform that wants its users on its platform. I don't really know anyone who is getting a ton of blog views from Instagram. So it's definitely been through search engines. To put it in perspective, I could get over the years anywhere from 200,000 to 800,000 views a month through search engines like Google. And I'd be lucky if I think last month I got 2,000 from Instagram, and that was by far the most ever in a month.
That's a
That's been
lot.
the impact. Yes. I've worked really, really hard at SEO, and it does sound amazing, but it's also been incredibly challenging. There's a lot of changes that have been happening with Google and with AI, and most of us right now are down significantly. And it's been very, very hard to pull back out of it, because all of us are in this blogging industry where it's based more on our articles versus pictures or videos or social media posts. We are basically redoing our whole sites. So I've been working with SEO experts for a good year and a half now, and rewriting every single article on my site, which is 600, and took me 5 years to write. And I'm now about a year and a half into rewriting them to even try to get back into Google's good graces, when there's all these other challenges. Like, you search something now and they pull up an AI overview and they don't really link to our content anymore. And it's been so impactful that a recent study that just came out believes that it's going to impact up to 96% of web traffic. And that's not just for me as a blogger. Those are newspapers. Those are really anything you read on the internet. It's kind of a wild west right now. And I'm hoping there will be some more legislation and some good lawsuit results that will be beneficial. So long story short, as amazing as it sounds, it's also been really challenging.
As somebody, take my website out of it, take my podcast out of it, just as a user of somebody who Googles stuff,
Mhm.
since they did their so-called helpful content update, it is not
Yes.
helpful. I'm not meaning to put balloons up here. I'm using
Yeah, your balloons came up, but I love the timing of it couldn't have been more perfect because in our industry, the helpful content update, which was a Google update in 2000, late 2023, has been the absolute worst thing that has ever happened in 20 years of the industry. So to see these little balloons fly up on your screen at the time it was just so funny.
I mean, I hate Reddit. I know people love it, but I cannot get over the ugliness of the website and how hard it is to follow things. I do not want to see Reddit responses to
For every
anything
single
I
thing.
Google. I hate it. So you said you're redoing your website because of this unhelpful update.
Thank
And
you. Appreciate
what,
that.
what are you doing differently? Like, how do you know what they want? How do you know
Yes.
I mean, you obviously have had success with SEO before
Yes.
this. So how do you make changes to be
Uh-huh.
successful when you were doing everything right in the first place?
You hit the nail on the head. You obviously know what you're talking about. I know you have a website too, and you obviously know a lot about the back end of it. That makes it all the harder because the last year and a half has just been really like me sitting on Twitter at night, like reading theory after theory after theory in Facebook group, theory after theory. One person will say, I looked at 1,000 websites and it's because their ads were this density. Or someone else will say, I looked at 1,000 websites, it's because they have a table of contents and Google doesn't want a table of contents. No one really knows what Google wants right now. And that is very challenging because it even goes against SEO standards. So even though I'm working with SEO experts who have been incredibly successful in SEO for the past few decades, it's also different now that a lot of it still has to come down to my decisions at the end of the day. And what I've been basing it on is user experience. I try to do everything for my users first now. So I do take into consideration SEO best practices, but I also allow my user experience to try to trump all of that. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't really have an answer to that just yet, but it's what feels right to me because at the end of the day, I can say I did what was best for the reader versus any sort of crazy algorithm that changes on a daily basis.
Yeah, and they say that's what they want. And the thing, like you mentioned, you're reading all of these theories from all of these people, and nobody really knows unless they are running the Google algorithm.
Right.
Everybody's just guessing. It's the same thing with like how to get more engagement on Instagram. We're all
Mhm.
just guessing,
And
really.
it could be different for different people too. I've seen some food bloggers come back recently, some stories of food bloggers coming back recently. And I even take that with a grain of salt because different niches can be different. So it's been a lot. It's been a long road since that update. Before then was really the golden age of blogging.
Outside of organic search, where else does your traffic come from? Like you mentioned food bloggers, I know Pinterest is probably huge for them.
Mhm.
Is there any other source of referral traffic that works well outside of the organic search?
Pinterest is also great for me. It's not as good as it is for food bloggers, but especially if you're writing about those really trendy books like ACOTAR and Fourth Wing, those get really good traction on Pinterest. I've been working on that really steadily, especially over the past year. That's always been my number two source, but that's been growing. And that's also a platform where Pinterest is really dedicated to promoting bloggers and to promoting those click-throughs to your website, whereas a platform like Instagram wants you to stay on their platform. So I'm not getting my website traffic, which is how I make money at the end of the day because I have ads and affiliate links on my posts. So that's really, if I don't have people on my website, I'm not really making money. I also have done well with email marketing, and I've also ramped that up over the past year along with Pinterest, where I've set things up where I email more frequently. I have certain things set up automatically, so when someone joins, I have right now I have about 150 emails set up for different blog posts. And now it's automatic because I did it once and it's set up so that when someone joins my email list, every Thursday they get one new helpful post. And that also helps me kind of resuscitate those older posts that I wrote a few years ago that people might not be searching anymore, but are still very relevant.
Yeah, like for me, I was totally late on the ACOTAR trend. I just finished the series last week, but I know it's been out forever. Now everybody's telling me that I got to start Fourth Wing. And I know I'm like behind on the game, but I can see where that could be beneficial. Let's
Yeah.
break down your revenue streams. You
Okay.
mentioned a few things. One is ads on your website, which obviously you can't get until you have a certain amount of traffic. What does well for you, and what order you started monetizing when you started to get that traffic? I'm assuming ads came first, or maybe the affiliate income, and what kind of affiliate income?
Affiliate came first because anyone can sign up for an affiliate program and just put it on their website or on their social medias or email lists. So I started with Amazon and a few others, Shop Style, the Like to Know It, those types of things. But then once I got to a certain level of traffic, I think it was about a year and a half that took me to get into sort of a lower end ad network. And the benefit of that is when you get into an ad network, they handle all the ads on your site for you. So it really is completely hands off for me once I get to that level of traffic. I think it was 6 months after that I got into Mediavine, which is a higher level program. And now I'm with Raptive, which is a little bit higher than that. Although some people do better with Mediavine, some people do better with Raptive. I've done better with Raptive overall for a few different reasons. But those can pay anywhere, it depends on a million different factors, from whether it's December and everyone's advertising versus January when no one's advertising. It can depend on what niche you're in. For example, books is lower than something like travel, where if you're a travel blogger, someone like Marriott is going to be willing to spend a lot more money on ads on your site because the payoff for them is a lot higher. Someone might spend $1,000 at Marriott, whereas they might spend $15 on a book. So it depends on a lot of factors, but I've seen ranges anywhere from $10 per 1,000 views to over $100. And I personally have not had it that high, but I know travel bloggers have.
Something that drives me crazy is the closed-mindedness of some advertisers. Like people who read also take vacations, Marriott.
Mm,
I did an interview with the woman, Haley, who started the Enchanted Book Club.
yes, she's amazing.
And she was telling me, she's got a hell of a
Yeah.
following on Instagram. That's how she grew her book club. And she was saying, I started to reach out to some people about sponsored posts because, publishers don't pay you. They'll send you all the books, which is great. Thank you.
Hmm.
But you can't pay your mortgage with books. A lot of the advertisers would just say,
Hmm.
oh, no, we don't do books. Okay, well, people who read books,
Right.
they also travel, they also buy candles, they also wear makeup. Like you got to think outside the box here, because there's so many more things for
Hmm.
a bookish blog or a bookstagram that you can promote outside of books.
Yeah, I was surprised. I listened to that episode and I've known her just through the internet for a few years, and I've always admired what she's done. It's really incredible the community she's created and how well she's done. I was surprised to hear that she even had pushback because she's always had a very strong following and always has done very well on social media.
We talk about the Google content update, or the unhelpful update, as we call it. But on Instagram, I don't know if you remember, like a few years ago, all of a sudden everybody's engagement like tanked. Like your reach and engagement,
Right.
like it just got so much harder. And then even years
Right.
before that, we saw it with Facebook pages. Like your Facebook page will
Yes.
have zero reach if you don't advertise.
And Facebook now, I did go get into Facebook a little bit last year as a way to diversify, and that started going well. And there is a Facebook bonus program where they pay you for your posts. So just by posting, once you get into, you have to have around 10,000 followers, and then you have to get invited to the program, and then they will pay you. That was doing well for some people for a while, and now that has been like crickets on Facebook. And it's really been since the inauguration, since Mark Zuckerberg got involved in politics, that we've seen Facebook engagement just tank again. So that was another thing where, I test these algorithms out, and it shows how hard it is to be in a digital space in any algorithm, because when the algorithm's working for you, it couldn't be better. And when it's working against you, it's devastating. And even TikTok, we still don't know what's happening with that. And that can be devastating. I saw a woman who sells Kindle cases and has a very successful business. She has her art on the Kindle cases, and she had just rented a new warehouse like the week before TikTok was banned. So now we don't know what's going to happen with TikTok, and and most of her sales were from TikTok. That's why I'm saying that. But it just shows how devastating these algorithms can be when they work against you, and you can do all these things to try to please them and still not have it work out. That's part of the reason why I admire Haley so much too, is because she's created this community that she truly owns through her book club community.
So you mentioned the ads, you mentioned affiliate links.
I have about 5 or 6 different programs that I use,
Okay.
just depending on, like, Skimlinks is a good one because it gives you access to almost everything. So for example, I don't think Marriott is on there, but Marriott is one that would not be on something like Shop Style, where it's more like clothing, like
Fashion and
Nordstrom.
right.
But you could get those like one-offs that you'd never see elsewhere on Skimlinks, and you just have it on the top of your screen. You don't have to apply to a program. You just have it on the top of your screen, and if it's available, you can click it and get the link. And then that's also one dashboard to check versus 1,000 dashboards to check throughout the month. So I do that. A few different ones. Howl is a great one, and I worked with them on a sponsorship as well, which is another like smaller source of income. I found sponsorships to be challenging to get, challenging to negotiate, challenging to work on. It's not that they're bad, they're great, but they come with challenges as well. And there's only so much we can all do. And like you said, someone like Haley, who is doing so great, still had challenges with sponsorship. So I also sell some printables. Like I have a reading journal. I now have guides for the Fourth Wing books, which have been doing pretty well over the last month or two.
Tell
So
me
what I'll
about
do,
that as somebody who's getting
yes.
ready to read. What is the
So Fourth
guide?
Wing isn't incredibly complicated, but the books get more complicated as they go on. And one of the challenges that this really came up with Onyx Storm, the third book, because it's been about a year since the second book, and it's becoming a more complex book series. And when people are diving back into it, they're not necessarily, reminding themselves of the 200 characters, the 10,000 places, the 15 dragon names, the magical powers that each person has. It's a lot to remember. So I basically make kind of like charts and spreadsheets and notes on all of those different things. And I usually would just put them on my website and get money through the ads. But this time I'm trying to diversify. I thought, let's take all of my blog posts and put them into a printable guide. And I think I have it set for $4 that, if you want to read it with the ads, you can read it with the ads on my website. But if you want a printer friendly version that you can, print into a compact size and put it inside your book and just refer back to it as you're reading along, you can upgrade for $4. And that's been a nice start to a new stream of income so
That's
far.
a genius idea. I went out to eat the other day, and of course, I'm wearing like a bookish t-shirt, and she was telling me I had to stop reading Fourth Wing
Mhm.
because I was gonna forget what happened, so
Right.
I had to wait. That's a genius idea. And you just sell this on your website?
Yes, on every blog post for Onyx Storm, which is the newest book in Fourth Wing and has been one that people have really been struggling with, I just have like a link saying, do you want to read this an easier way? You can upgrade to a printable version. And I sell it through Patreon. And the reason I like Patreon is because I also have a membership there, which I've recently started, and they take care of all of the taxes worldwide. So I've looked into many different programs over the years for selling, and the sales tax can become very complicated and is always changing. So I love the fact that they handle all the taxes on their program. And it's also really easy. You really just upload it and you're selling it.
Okay, so you just mentioned another revenue stream outside ads and affiliate. You have Patreon where people can join, and not only can they get this guide, which I'm envisioning like it's like a paper version of like the video recap. Like this is what happened on the last episode, so
Yes.
you're ready
And
for the
charts
next
too.
one.
Yeah, and like charts, like this, like a
Yeah.
list of character names, a list of their dragons, a list of their magical powers, all on a chart that you can
Ah,
reference,
okay. So
and things
perfect.
like that.
So
And
perfect.
reminders, I've given people a lot of reminders. One thing that was hard was that in the newest book, the author refers to characters' last names versus their first names a lot. So that's been, and by the way, there are 200 characters in this book. So then you add on that, she says
Yeah.
last names.
We
So I
need
did
this guide.
yes, I did a chapter by chapter summary, and every time she said a last name, I would also tell people, this is the first name, this is who it is, kind of like remind them and guide them through the reading process. And just make them feel okay too. Like I got a comment last week that was saying like, you made me feel okay because I felt bad when I was reading this. And I'm like, no, it is not you. This is a hard book. And I only know it because I spent weeks going through line by line, reading, taking notes, distilling those notes. I'm not a magical person that just knows all of these things. I did it because that's my job, and I took the time to do it all for readers.
Am I missing any other revenue streams beside those three?
So the membership, I just started, and there
Yep.
are other aspects to that besides the printables. And that really sprang from the fact that I run a book club called the Rory Gilmore Book Club. And that's been one of the best parts of my blog. My blog is called The Literary Lifestyle. So it really can be any kind of books or bookish lifestyle. Several years ago during COVID, I had mentioned on Instagram that I was interested in rewatching Gilmore Girls and reading the books on the show, and a lot of people were interested. So I created a separate Instagram account, and I run that on Instagram where every month I usually give a monthly prompt, like a classic book. That way people can choose. I don't say To Kill a Mockingbird and 100 people say, well, I already read that, so I can't participate. I like to pick a prompt and let people choose. So this year, in an effort to try to diversify a little bit more and have a little bit more stability to my income, I started a membership on Patreon along with the printables of varying kinds. And there, what I did was I asked people what they really wanted. And what they really wanted was a Goodreads group. They wanted episode guides where I go every single episode and say all of the books that are in every episode so that they can kind of pair them up. They wanted detailed lists. So if I say a classic book, they want me to give them 100 different examples. So I started it that way by asking people and then providing, and that's a monthly fee. And that's just really getting started. I've only been doing it since January.
Very cool. What is the monthly fee, and how did you get people to join? Like you say, you asked them. How are you asking them? On social media, through
Yes,
your
good
email
question.
list?
Yeah, both. I have about 30,000 people on my email list, and most of those come through the Rory Gilmore Book Club. And then Instagram, I have about 15,000 followers on that account. So I asked on both of those because those are the strongest channels for that club. And then I went with that. I'm still open to doing Zooms if people want to do Zooms, or if it grows to a point where there's a lot of people. It's kind of small right now. Um, and then it costs anywhere from $5 to $10. And the $5 one is for people who are not interested in the Rory Gilmore Book Club. And I just do things like, I give you a monthly digest of things that are really interesting in the book community that I found over the past month. I give you all the books I'm looking forward to each month so that you can get your library holds in early or pre-order them. And then I give a unfiltered review of every book I read at the end of the month. So that one's $5, and then it goes all the way up to $10, where you get all of that plus all the Gilmore Girls stuff.
The way people join your list, I'm assuming it's through your website, through the organic traffic with SEO. Is it just sign up for my newsletter, join the book club? Like, what is your call to action once they land on your site?
For me, the number one best call to action has been a printable version of the Gilmore Girls list. I have a few other freebies that I give away. For example, on my book club guides, I have a freebie that if you sign up, you get a list of 100 questions that you can ask at any book club for any book. They kind of are very generalized and they work for any book club. By about 8 to 1, the Rory Gilmore checklist is the one that converts the most. Some of it now is through Instagram because I can do that thing where you say comment link and I'll send you the
Right.
link to sign up. So it's become better at converting on Instagram than it has been in the past. Most of it was through SEO that people land on those Gilmore Girls related posts. And, I have links and pop-ups that say, if you want a free version, free printable checklist version of this list, click to sign up. It's gotten a few shares by other people as well because it's been popular over the years. So that's also contributed. So that's basically how I've been getting people onto my list.
I have to confess that I have not seen the Gilmore Girls, so I don't understand the Gilmore Girls show and book connection.
It's a small town in Connecticut, and it's a young mom that she had a daughter when she was in high school, and now the daughter is in high school. So she's about, 32-ish, and she's working at an inn, and the daughter is an extremely smart English student who loves to read, always has a book in her hand.
Got it.
So
Got it.
there's about 500 references throughout the show.
Okay. Now it sounds like I have to watch the Gilmore Girls in addition to reading Fourth Wing. Like I just need to go on your
Right.
website and collect all of the things. What are you reading now? And what is the last best book you read?
Right now, I had just finished, I'm looking over because I just looked at it. Piazza's advanced book, Everyone is Lying to You. And that is, Joe Piazza is a local Philly author who I met last year and usually read her books and go to see her speak. She's really into tradwives, and this is a tradwife murder mystery. Very over the top, dark comedy kind of. The comedy is almost like White Lotus, like it's that kind of murder mystery where it's kind of like dark and humorous, but not really humorous. It's sort of just very over top and poking fun at what can go wrong with tradwives. The last best book I read was Broken Country, which is Reese's
It's
Book Club's latest
everywhere.
book.
It's
Yeah, and I
everywhere.
think it will continue to be. I'm actually surprised it's not more places. I was just thinking of this morning that I've heard about it a lot, but I thought I was going to hear about it more on like Fourth Wing levels. And I think it will get to that point, but it hasn't crossed that mass popularity yet. I think it's crossed the Bookstagram and Book Talk popularity, but I do think we'll be seeing like 1 million, 2 million in sales of that book over the next year or two, sort of like a lessons in chemistry. And that book just has a little bit of everything for everyone. That one also has a murder mystery. It's historical fiction. It's a love triangle. The writing is very beautiful and feels very literary. It's also short and quick and easy to read. It's kind of something that everyone will like.
I have to add it to my list. And where can we go and get all of your downloads and all of your things on your website?
The easiest place to go is theliterarylifestyle.com because that links all my socials. There's a subscribe link to subscribe to the newsletter. There's a members link if you're interested in the membership club. So that's sort of the hub for everything. I hope this is helpful to people, and I hope that anyone who is interested in getting into blogging or into growing their blog, it feels inspired and seen through the hard times to keep going through it and to push through it and to believe in yourself and believe in your writing and keep working, keep being consistent, and keep hoping that we see, things come out on top again for all of us in the writing space, not just bloggers, but any writer who's dealing with artificial intelligence right now.